There's a couple of things that are going to happen over the next, I guess, 6 weeks or so. One is that the Senate hopefully will rush to confirm as many judges as possible, and hopefully also confirm one more member of the National Labor Relations Board. So theoretically, they'd be able to stay until 2016.
26.
20. Yes, geez, I'm sorry. Yep. It's one of those weeks. 2026. And the other thing that we're going to be doing is talking about a couple of votes that are going to take place over the next couple of days, and maybe a couple more in the lame duck. There's not going to be a lot of things that are happening over that time. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about is going to be the attempt by the incoming Trump administration to get all of their nominees to either sail through the Senate or sail around the Senate. And one of those people is Matt Gaetz. What's amazing to me is we're starting to hear more. Obviously, there's this report. There's going to be a vote. Is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow that they're going to vote as to whether to release the report in the House Judiciary?
Yes.
In the House Ethics. Yep. And who knows how that vote is going to go. My guess is they will vote not to release it because in the future, maybe some of them have a report they don't want released, and it will get out. Like even now, we're hearing reports as to what happened, and largely it's around eyewitness accounts of Gaetz at a party having sex with an underage girl, and rampant drug use. Very little talk about Pete Hegseth's, I think, even more damning, frankly, potential rape accusation that is out there. But this is the cabinet that Donald Trump wants to assemble. And the real question is going to be, is he going to go around the process? But here is Mike Johnson talking about the Gaetz report.
And I don't think the committee should make that decision because I don't want to open that Pandora's box. We're in a different era, okay? If there was a breach of this in the past, so be it. But now we live in the age of the 24-hour news cycle. Now we live in the age of social media. The politics and the dynamics are very different. And I would be concerned about opening the Pandora's box of saying that the House Ethics Committee, with its vast resources and unlimited power, effectively, could investigate private citizens and release reports about them. I don't think we want to go down that road. I think it's an important principle for us to maintain.
Has Trump or any of his advisors urged you to take this position?
No, I have not discussed the ethics report with President Trump. And as you know, I spent a lot of time with him.
He's not.
He was hanging out with him at a wrestling match or a MMA fight the other night.
I know. Yeah. I was surprised he was able to go, but because there was at least one woman in the audience, Tulsi Gabbard was there. But I guess I don't know how that works with these religious fundamentalists, because his wife, I don't think was around. Maybe, in the locker room or something.
I'm sorry. The argument that he hasn't had time to talk to Donald Trump about it is laughable. But that is Mike Johnson essentially threatening other members of the House. Like, hey, if we can release this on Gaetz after he leaves, I mean, it means that other people might not be able to escape any type of accountability if they do something wrong just by resigning from the House. And so that the opportunity is going to be foreclosed for you. And, maybe the real problem is that Gaetz just didn't have a son who would in some way inhibit his activities by shutting down his Chrome browser in some fashion. Incidentally, apparently, according to reports, the Venmo payments to these 17-year-old girls, incidentally, went through the guy that Gaetz claims is his adopted son or something.
Nestor.
Yeah, just a little
remember
bit
that
of a
story?
twist there that makes it a little bit more intriguing.
And apparently he announced to the press that Nestor was his adopted son 2 days prior to his alleged co-conspirator being basically named in public in that investigation. So it seems like suspicious timing to proclaim someone who was at least maybe sending payments for you to underage girls, that boy is your son. Sounds more like your connection to underage girls. I don't know.
Tucker Carlson had Gates and Nestor on to talk about how beautiful their relationship is.
I wonder if what the
So
rules are.
moving.
Maybe somebody on the IM can tell me what the rules are for children testifying against their parents. Is there any type of
That could be relevant.
because you're not you can't be forced to testify against a spouse. I don't know what that is in terms of kids, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised.
Giuliani should have adopted Trump.
He should have. I can't. Does that affect attorney-client privilege? So many layers to this. I can't tell if Trump is appointing accused rapists as the first order thing, or if he feels like to just be like, hell yeah, this is the campaign I ran. I showed that dumb lady and abortion rights no more, and all those manosphere folks, I've got your back, buddy, Elon Musk and all. Or it's probably a little of that and more of, if they are in a precarious situation, like have a pending accusation against them, it gives me more leverage over them to do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah, and here's how it could go down in terms of a recess appointments. As you know, the Senate Democrats would have the ability to filibuster a Trump nominees. Generally, senators acquiesce and say, you know, the guy won, he can get his appointments unless they're egregiously unqualified. For instance, like Gates, who's
Like
barely
Gates.
a lawyer, being head of the DOJ and is up on the, has been investigated for these type of activities. Or someone like Hegseth, who in his wildest roofie-inspired dreams could never have imagined that he would ever be appointed anything remotely close to the Secretary of Defense because it's so outlandish.
Maybe like the local chapter of his Proud Boys of a Proud Boys organization, but that's, I think, probably as high as his ambitions might have been.
Or let's say RFK, who is an anti-vaxxer, being in charge of the CDC. I mean, all of these things are fantastical in many respects. And so it is, in my opinion, very likely that Trump is going to appoint those that he gets word from the Senate can't pass through the Senate in terms of like Republican votes. And here's how it could go down. Now, remember, if you get a recess appointment, it only lasts for 2 years, or really until the next Senate elections, and the next one are in 2026. And you cannot be paid. But if you have, let's say, a bunch of billionaires hanging around, I'm sure there's a way to get around that, sell a watch or something to somebody for a lot of money. This is how it would work. The Senate has to be adjourned for 10 actual days. The Senate has to vote a 50-vote majority to adjourn. It's a privileged motion. So it comes first in line, and it doesn't require a 2/3 majority. There's no way to filibuster this. Now, if the Senate doesn't want to do it because they seem like they want to pretend like they actually are senators and they're not going to kowtow to anybody, the other way that it can happen is that Mike Johnson gets his House to adjourn. And if the Senate does not take up this measure, it is arguable, but I'm sure Donald Trump will just blow through it, that Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution, when there is a disagreement in adjournment between the House and the Senate, the president can call for an adjournment. Now, that would force the Senate to adjourn. But the Senate could come back within a day if they wanted, as long as they adjourn. They don't have to adjourn for 10 days. They will not do that. They will pretend like it's out of their hands. They will acquiesce to Donald Trump because that's what he wants them to do, and that's what they're trained to do. And I think all of these nominees are going to sail through. I think it has as much to do with Donald Trump wanting these nominees, because again, these are people who, the vast majority of them, realize they have absolutely no business being even close to what they're nominated for, and they owe it all to one person, and that is Donald Trump. And that's what he wants. He wants total fealty from these people. He wants absolutely zero resistance, zero fealty to the Constitution, zero fealty to institutional norms, zero fealty to the concerns of the party, zero fealty to anyone but him. And I think that's why he's going to do it. He's going to show the Senate, I'm going to do this whether you want or not. And it's just one more way to sort of train them to acquiesce to his power. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. We see this everywhere.
Yeah.
Saw this with, Joe Scarborough.
But these are so egregious. Like, I understand. I think you're probably right. But maybe Gates is the sacrificial guy that they put out there so they can get everyone else through. I mean, it's like he's the most hated Republican by Republicans who's not named Ted Cruz. I just can't think of anybody. They definitely hate him more than Cruz. And if Trump not being able to run in 28, at least for now, like, does that change the calculation? I don't know if I'm just trying to find a glimmer of hope in this situation, or if it's hope against hope, but like there's a chance. Gates seems like it's going to be a bit of a tough hill to climb, but then maybe he'll just do the recess thing. And like, I don't know if Thune and those Republican senators who think more highly of themselves than the House Republicans who just kind of follow suit will bristle at their authority being kind of questioned in this way, or them being humiliated like this.
Oh, they'll bristle, but they're going to say, oh, the House is adjourned. The president has said his constitutional authority exists under Article 2, and there's nothing we can do about it. But in fact, there is something they could do about it if they wanted. People should be aware. And you may be right. But
I have no idea. Yeah.
And I know that you're trying not to get involved in bets these days. But
that's why I said I've got no opinion on the matter of how it'll show.
Me having an opinion on a future outcome? No, couldn't be me.
That's the old me. That's the old me.
Well, we'll see. But I just want people to be aware of how this could go down. And the Senate has the ability, even in that situation where Trump invokes a constitutional authority, they have the ability to stand up. Do not let them get away with, at the very least, pretending that it's out of their control. Watch this very carefully. It's really important to sort of measure what's going to happen. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.